Hi everyone, and welcome to the new video on our channel. Today we're going to take a little break from all the food and cultural aspects of the Serbian language and focus on something that every language learner dreads: mistakes. Honestly, mistakes are a huge part of learning any language. You can't really improve without making them first. So instead of being embarrassed by them, it's much better to understand why they happen and learn from them. Most of the time, mistakes actually mean you're thinking logically and trying to apply the rules you already know. The problem is just that languages love exceptions. And Serbian definitely has plenty of them. So we picked some of the most common mistakes Serbian learners make, and in this video we'll break them down, explain the logic behind them, and hopefully make them a lot easier to remember. Ready? Pa da počnemo. Let's start with something you say almost every time you introduce yourself: your nationality. In English, the exact same word is often used for the country's adjective, the language, and the person. For example, you say, "I'm English" or "I speak English." Because of this, many learners make the mistake of using the language adjective to describe themselves. They might say, "Ja sam engleski." In Serbian, you cannot use an adjective to describe who you are. You must use a noun. And remember, these nouns change based on whether you are a man or a woman. So, if you're a guy from England, you say, "Ja sam Englez." If you're a woman from England, you say, "Ja sam engleskinja." Another quick trap comes up with a word for a woman from Serbia. Often learners say, "Moja žena je srpskinja." This happens probably because you have in mind the adjective srpski as a base, but it's not a case. The root here is Srb from Serbia or Srbin, the male form. And then b becomes p due to consonant change. The correct version is "Moja žena je srpkinja." When it comes to languages, they have very recognizable endings: ski, ški, or čki. Engleski, srpski, nemački, norveški, italijanski. So if you remember this, you'll know this is only used for languages and not nationalities. Now, when you are planning a hangout or a meeting with a friend, English speakers naturally use the word on for days of the week, like on Monday or on Friday. If you translate this literally into Serbian, you'll want to use the word na, which means on. This leads to a very common mistake: vidimo se na petak. In Serbian, days of the week don't take on, they take u, which means in. Think of it as being inside that day. Vidimo se u petak. Idemo u restoran u nedjelju. Also, if you are speaking about the months, use the same preposition u. Moj rođendan je u avgustu. So in Serbian, we use the same preposition for both days of the week and months. There is no difference like in English. And if our videos have been helping you learn or feel more connected to the language, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. A lot of people watch our videos regularly without subscribing, and those subscriptions make a big difference for small channels like ours. They help our videos reach more learners and allow us to keep creating new content. Thanks so much for being here and supporting our work. In Serbian, when you want to show respect to a stranger, an older person, or a boss, you don't use the casual word for you, which is ti. Instead, you use the formal word vi, with a capital V. Here's the twist. Vi is grammatically a plural word, like you all. Because you are technically talking to one person but using a plural pronoun, learners often get confused with adjectives. They try to keep the adjective singular because they are looking at just one person, leading to mistakes like "Vi ste ljubazna," speaking to a woman, or "Vi ste pametan," speaking to a man. Even though you are talking to one single person, the adjective must match the plural form of vi. And we don't do genders here either. It's the same for everyone. So, you always use the plural ending vi ste ljubazni or pametni. Whether you're talking to a man, a woman, or a group, the adjective stays plural when using vi, and the helping word is always ste. When you look up a verb in a Serbian dictionary, you find its basic infinitive form, which usually ends in ti. For example, trčati or putovati. A lot of learners assume they can just chop off the T and add an M to say I do something. But Serbian verbs love to change their stems. If you try the direct shortcut, you will end up saying things like ja trčam u parku or ja putovam u Beograd. Instead, many verbs change their internal parts in the present tense. Trčati changes its a to an i, and putovati changes ova to uje. So the correct versions are ja trčim u parku, ja putujem u Beograd. So the trick is to always make sure to learn both the infinitive form and the form for the first person of a verb at the same time. And if you need a detailed overview of Serbian verb conjugations in the present tense, check out one of our 3 videos in the series on present tense. Next, the verb to want is hteti, and the I want form is hoću. Naturally, when you want to say I don't want, you might think you just add the word ne in front of it. This results in a very common mistake. Ja ne hoću kafu. The verb hteti is a total rebel. When it becomes negative, it completely fuses into one unique word, neću. Ja neću kafu. This is how we change this unique word through each person. Neću, nećeš, neće, nećemo, nećete, neće. Even though it's a completely different word, the endings are the standard ones, except for the first person singular, where you'd naturally expect M, but nećem doesn't exist. Serbian word order is generally quite flexible, but there is one strict rule. Short, unstressed words like ću, sam, ga, joj, se, and so on can never take the first position in a sentence. And they also hate being pushed too far back. They almost always want to be in the second slot of the sentence. Learners often put them in a wrong place. Ćete vi kupiti auto? Oni gledali su film. To fix this, you either put the short word right after the pronoun in the second slot. Vi ćete kupiti auto. Oni su gledali film. Or, if you drop the pronouns vi or oni, which Serbs do all the time, the short word hitches a ride onto the back of the main verb. Kupit ćete auto. Gledali su film. And the last tricky part is questions. In questions, the short words go after the question word and before the main verb. Gde ćete kupiti auto? Kad ste gledali film? Yes, I know this can feel pretty complicated. That's exactly why it made the list of the most common mistakes. But don't worry, you are definitely not the only person struggling with it. The important thing is now you know the correct version. We talk a lot about the word order of these short words, which we call enclitics, in our special pronunciation course. This course is made for learners of all levels and is focused on the correct pronunciation of all sounds in Serbian, with more detailed lessons dedicated to tricky sounds like č, ć, dj, or dž. In this course, you get 29 lessons with more than 10 hours of video materials, more than 40 interactive exercises and downloadable audio for listening. And one whole bonus video lesson is dedicated to the word order of enclitics in Serbian, with lots of examples that you will use in everyday life, which helps you memorize this more naturally instead of just learning the rules. I will leave the link in the description, so make sure to check it out. Okay, let's move on to another common mistake. When using the past tense, you generally take the verb stem and add endings like o for men or la for women. But two highly common verbs trip everyone up. Jesti, to eat, and nemati, to not have. For to eat, the present tense is jedem. So learners logically guess the past tense is jedeo. Jedeo sam pizzu. For not to have, the present tense is nemam, so learners guess the past tense is nemao. Nemao sam vremena. Both of these are incorrect. Jesti doesn't even have the in the past, as this is what you see in its present form. Jeo sam pizzu. The general rule for the verbs ending in sti in Serbian is that we also drop s from their infinitive and then just add the regular endings for the past tense. And nemati splits apart into the negative word plus the regular verb imati. Nisam imao vremena. Serbian uses different endings for a place depending on whether you are already there, stationary location, or moving towards it, direction. This is probably the biggest headache for beginner and intermediate learners. English uses in or at for both. So foreigners often use the same ending for both situations. For example, idem u kancelariji, trying to say I'm going to the office. Or ja sam u kancelariju, trying to say I'm in the office. See what happened here? The endings get swapped. When you are moving towards a place, so direction, the ending of feminine nouns changes to u. Idem u kancelariju. I'm going to the office, so it's movement. When you are already inside a place and being static, so we're talking about location, the ending changes to I. Ja sam u kancelariji. I'm in the office. So for the direction, we use the accusative, and for the static situation, we use the locative. And finally, irregular plurals. In English, you have irregular plurals like child becoming children. Serbian has them too, but they are exceptionally weird because three of the most common words used pretty much every day completely change their rules in the plural. These words are čovek, brat, and dete. Learners naturally try to add regular plural endings, which sounds very funny to native speakers. For example, tamo su čoveci. Imam dva bratovi. Deci su u parku. None of those plural forms exist. Here is the correct way to say them. The plural of čovek is completely different. Ljudi. Tamo su ljudi. The plural of brat is braća. Even weirder, braća grammatically behaves like a singular female noun, even though it means multiple brothers. Imam dva brata or moja braća su tu. The plural of dete is deca. Just like brothers, deca, collective plural, treats the word like a singular feminine noun. Deca su u parku. Since this is pretty weird to foreigners, our advice is to learn these forms in pairs. Čovek, ljudi. Brat, braća. Dete, deca. And that's it for today. Yes, I know making mistakes could be very frustrating, especially when the rule finally clicks and then you find out it doesn't work for everything. But that's just how any language works sometimes. The important thing is not to see mistakes as failure, but as a chance to learn something new. Everybody makes mistakes. even native speakers. Well, especially the native speakers. So don't be afraid to use the language even if you're not perfect yet. People will still understand you, and the more you speak, the fewer mistakes you will make over time. See you next week.